Intermittent fasting is a craze right now. I do some intermittent fasting myself. I think that intermittent fasting most days is a good idea for people. Intermittent fasting can be just 12 hours. So is it a good idea to go 12 hours without eating? Yes. We eat too much in this country all the time. I personally try to go at least 14 hours and most days 16 hours without eating because I want my body to have time to recover and I want it to switch from burning carbohydrates for fuel to burning fatty acids. So that's how we get rid of visceral fat and that's how we stay very lean and keep our body fat low, is allowing our body to process those fatty acids for fuel. So intermittent fasting, how long should you do it? When should you do it? Typically, your body is going to go into fat burning mode around 12 hours, which is a good thing. So you want your body to start using fatty acids in the form of lipolysis for energy. And that typically happens around 12 hours. So if you can go to 14 hours, that's great. If you can make it to 16, even better. If you can do a 24-hour fast once a week or once a month or even once a quarter, amazing things happen at 24 hours of fasting. Your body will be able to process things from your gut in a different way. Now, if you can fast to 36 hours, that actually changes how your body metabolizes fat completely. And that's kind of a longer fast. At 72 hours, a lot of people will do 72-hour fast and you get some autophagy where your body will start to rebuild itself, eat cancer cells, things like that. But those are very prolonged fasts and not something you're going to do frequently. I would say if you want to get into intermittent fasting, let's start with a 12-hour fast. And then once you've done a 12-hour fast, let's do 13. Let's do 14. Let's try to get to 14 to 16 hours a day of intermittent fasting and then do that most days. Do it 6 days a week. You don't have to fast every day. Some days I don't fast, but that would be a good way to start. And a good goal would be 14 to 16 hours. Maybe once a month, once a quarter, try a 24-hour fast. But fasting is good for you most of the time. Now, let's talk about fasting when it comes to hormones and cycling women. Should you fast every single day if you're a cycling woman? The answer is no, at least not prolonged. So when you have hormone cycles, you actually want to use that to your advantage with fasting. So when you're in your follicular phase starts the first day you start bleeding. And it goes typically until about day 13 to 14. But when you first start your menstrual cycle, your estrogen levels are going to be a lot higher. When your estrogen's high, your insulin is low. So it is much easier for you to fast as a woman in the front half of your cycle because your estrogen's high. And so use that as an advantage. When your estrogen is high, take advantage of that. Fast. Do a 14-hour fast, 16, maybe 18-hour fast, because that's going to help drive your insulin levels down even further. Now, when you ovulate, other things start to happen. Progesterone levels start to rise. You get an increase in testosterone. Ovulating women are amazing creatures. I joke that if you put a bunch of ovulating women into a room, we could solve all the world's problems in about 24 hours because our hormones are perfect. We've got a lot of estrogen. We've got a lot of progesterone. We've got a lot of testosterone. On the back half of your cycle, in your luteal phase, when your progesterone is high and your estrogen starts to get low, it is a lot harder for you to fast as a woman. So when you're in that back half of your cycle, if you feel hungry, then eat. Don't do prolonged fasting for sure, because that will drive your cortisol levels up if you do that. So once you've ovulated until you bleed, that's in your luteal phase. Don't push long fasts. So I typically, like I said, in my follicular phase, I will fast 14, 16 hours a day. Once I get to my luteal phase, not much longer than 12 hours if I'm hungry. If I'm not hungry, I might go 13, 14, but I definitely don't push it at all. That's very important. Now, exercise based on your menstrual cycle, also interesting. When your estrogen's high in the front half of your cycle, that is when you want to try to build muscle. So time under tension, you're lifting heavy or hard, you're going at it, going hard, trying to build muscle. When you get to your luteal phase of your cycle, it is more difficult. You're more prone to injury. A lot of times your energy's not there because your body's preparing itself to either have a baby or have a menstrual cycle. So when you're in that later phase of your cycle, when you're in that luteal phase and you're exercising, if you're tired or you can't lift as heavy, just give yourself a little grace, give yourself a little break. Maybe don't go as hard. But that's my take on fasting.